Chapter 2, Kirofune. James wasn't thinking about his big sister in far-off Japan, or at least not consciously, but he was fascinated with Japanese history, and one of the most pivotal moments in their history and of the history of the world was the arrival of Admiral Matthew Perry of the United States Navy in Tokyo Bay, the Black Ships or Kirofune, on July 8, 1853. It was Commodore Perry's second visit to the land of the rising sun. The first had not gone as well as they had first thought. Who could have guessed the shogun would die and such a weak leader would take his place? History, James thought, sometimes rested on the head of a pin, even the slightest blow of the wind, and it all changed. He looked at the laptop computer sitting on a cooling pad next to his AP history class book. He wanted to build a world, a real world, inside his computer system in VR space. And what a system it was. His uncle Doug had sent it to him for his birthday the year before, and it was the fastest computer he'd ever used. It had come with one of the newest VR headsets, and the gleaming black G7 laptop could run even the most demanding games. Sometimes when he put on the headset, he wondered how real his own world really was. He was working on a new project, or a build as the software engineers would call it, on a custom physics engine he'd come up with. The problem wasn't the physics, at least not anymore. The problem was the AI. He wanted every interaction to feel real, but real people never did what was predicted, and chaos was just that, chaos. He knew he was onto something. When his current build ran well, it ran really well. But once it began to fall apart, well, that was a completely different story. He always loved computers. He used to watch his father tapping away late into the night, and he always wondered what those words were. The first time he'd sat him on his lap and showed him the world inside the dark screen had felt like magic in a box, right there on his father's oak desk. When he was younger, he loved to play the Agent Zero's mission with its demonic voice commanding him, "Stay a while, stay forever," and its endless elevators going up and down looking for the clues needed to fight the robots and solve the mystery. He looked back at the book he was studying for his AP English class, Narrative of the Expedition of an American Squadron to the China Seas and Japan, by Francis L. Hawkes. James was fascinated with the story, but not for the reasons his teachers at school would understand. After the first visit, and its aftermath, Matthew Perry had assumed full control and insisted there be no professional diplomats. He decided on a mixed bag and wanted to show the Japanese the artistic flair and different points of view. That did not mean he hadn't had a screaming match when he'd insisted on a German painter and an avant-garde photographer, but he knew good artists and good people when he saw them. Dr. James Morrow had been assigned by the State Department as an agricultural specialist, but Perry suspected it wasn't just the plants and animals he was observing on the trip to the Empire of Japan. There were also a few Japanese whaling castaways who had been recruited to act as interpreters, though they mostly kept to themselves. The ship was big for its time. The U.S.S. Mississippi was one of the Navy's first steam-driven warships, with a massive Pennsylvania steel wheel turning on the water wheel driven by the fire deep in the ship's hull. James wondered how it felt to glide through the air on the ocean like that, the hum of the engines at his feet, the ocean breeze in his face. He slid the blue bookmark between the pages and stuffed the book into his backpack and lay down to sleep. He dreamt he was flying around a modern city on a rocket bike, the land below a subtle blur of motion as he flew towards the target, red lights flashing. When he woke up, just before the alarm started blaring from his smartphone, he felt 2 beads of sweat glide slowly down his back. It gave him goosebumps and sent a shiver down his spine. He wiped the sleep from his eyes and walked groggily towards the shower and began his morning ritual. The water warmly flowed through his dark brown hair, and as he closed his eyes, feeling the warmth wash over his shoulders and down his back, when an idea occurred to him. He could let the AI learn by itself, interacting with the virtual player world. Multiple instances could be run at once, and he could program metrics to see which AI scored the highest on his metrics, and he could them again and again until the most efficient, most lifelike agents would be left. It was like a streak of lightning had struck his conscious mind, and he was still tripping on the hardwood floors and rustling the water from his hair as he opened his laptop. It was kinda like evolution, he thought, except it was digital evolution. He named the first one Bob, and Bob had a lot of work to do.